Hello and welcome to Superman in Media, the 12-part series where I look at Superman's role in movies, TV and video games. In part 11 I shall be looking at the 2013 film Man of Steel and Superman within the DCEU. In 2008, Warner Bros. Began taking script pitches from comic book writers such as Grant Morrison, Brad Meltzer, and Jeff Johns. Morrison's pitch included him telling WB to treat 2006's Superman Returns like Ang Lee's Hulk, noting that the recent release of The Incredible Hulk, audiences will be willing to forgive and let you redo a franchise. Mark Millar also pitched a massive 8-hour Superman trilogy, with each film being released a year apart from each other, much like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It would have chronicled Superman's entire life from early Krypton to a finale where Superman loses his powers as the sun begins to supernova. In mid-2008, WB suggested a reboot of the series, and executive Jeff Robinoff planned to release a film by 2010 or 2011. Robinoff said that the plan was to just reintroduce Superman without regards to a Batman and Superman movie at all, an idea that was initially thrown around if Superman Returns had succeeded. Thanks to Christopher Nolan's seminal Batman trilogy, Paul Levitt stated that if he signed on for a third Batman film, which would become The Dark Knight Rises, other DC movies like the Superman reboot would follow after. In early 2009, director McGee expressed interest in returning to Superman after having to leave Superman Flyby due to not being able to get to locations due to his fear of flying. In mid-2009, a court ruling saw Jerry Siegel's family recapture 50% of the rights to Superman's origins and Siegel's share of the copyright in Action Comics issue 1. In addition to this win, a judge ruled that WB did not owe the families additional royalties from previous films. However, if they did not begin production on a Superman film by 2011, the Siegel's estate would be able to sue for lost revenue from an unproduced film. During story discussions regarding The Dark Knight Rises, David S. Goyer pitched his Superman story to Christopher Nolan, who in turn pitched it to WB and signed himself on to produce and Goyer to write it. Nolan stated that a lot of people have approached Superman in different ways and that he only knows the way that has worked for him, a la the Batman films, emphasizing that his idea for Batman existing in a world where he was the only superhero would be used for his and Goyer's approach to the new Superman film. Guillermo del Toro was approached to direct the new film but passed on it for his now defunct production of At the Mountains of Madness. Other directors approached included Duncan Jones, Matt Reeves, and Tony Scott, before in 2010 Zack Snyder was hired. Casting then began in November 2010. Principal photography began in August 2011 and was expected to go for 2 to 3 months. The production mainly took place in Plano, Illinois, Chicago, and California. Weta Digital, based in New Zealand, handled the extensive special effects for the film. Hans Zimmer, fresh off Nolan's Batman trilogy, was hired as composer after initially denying rumors that he was involved with the project. Man of Steel grossed $291 million in the US and Canada markets and $377 million worldwide, totaling to $668 million overall. Calculating all the expenses for the film that include marketing, home DVD distribution, and other things, Deadline estimated that the film only made a profit of $42.7 million for Warner Bros. Receiving mixed reviews from critics with an approval rating of only 55% on Rotten Tomatoes based on over 300 reviews, Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times said Man of Steel covered no new ground in regards to Superman films and instead, and I quote, "We're plunged back into mostly underwhelming film, with underdeveloped characters and supercharged fight scenes that drag on and offer nothing new in the way of SFX creativity." Reactions among comic creators was also mixed, with the famous writers like Mark Waid calling the film joyless in tone and criticizing Superman's choice to kill General Zod, something which has been echoed by other writers, critics, and fans. Famous artist Neil Adams suggested that there were other avenues that Superman could take in regards to Superman stopping Zod from threatening innocents and the collateral damage the supposed hero caused. In June 2013, David Goyer was hired to write a sequel to Man of Steel as well as a Justice League script. In July 2013, Zack Snyder announced the next film would see Batman and Superman duking it out, with Ben Affleck cast as Batman and Gal Gadot cast as Wonder Woman. The film was delayed an entire year while new writer Chris Terrio was brought in to bump up the script a little bit. As the film began its marketing, Terrio was also tapped to rewrite Goyer's other script, The Justice League, which was also to be directed by Snyder. While the film was initially a Man of Steel sequel, it was developed into a separate entity. Snyder later added that he thinks Batman vs Superman is Man of Steel 2, but added that a future standalone Superman film was not in development at WB as of March 2016. So now comes the thoughts part of this video, and I know a lot of people have already heard my thoughts greatly and extensively in and around the subject of the Man of Steel and the DCEU, and I'm not really a big fan of what they've been doing with that character, especially since Superman is my favorite character. The problem is that they're always just off from doing a good thing. Like Henry Cavill as Clark Kent and Superman, like he looks the part and everything, and I think if he had the script that could play to his strengths, he would have been a fantastic Superman. But from what we've seen in Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, he's not really given a lot to do. I mean, in Batman vs Superman, he actually had less lines than Spider-Man in Civil War, and that was a cameo for Spider-Man, which that says something about a character who is in the title of the movie getting less lines than a cameo in a Marvel film. That's just unbelievable and kind of shocking as well, and kind of does the character some disservices. Yeah, I think he can play a really good Superman, especially since we've seen him act as like charismatic and witty and everything in movies like The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which he's fantastic in. And he's also read countless books, and books that don't generally get read. Like you hear everyone talking about they've read All-Star Superman or Superman Red Sun and everything, but Henry Cavill was reading stuff like The Search for Kryptonite and everything like that. So that's really cool that he wasn't just reading like the books that you can just go to any bookstore and pick up because they are the most famous ones. He was reading ones that you like have to order in or something, you know, some that aren't as well known to people, which I thought was really cool, and it showed that he was doing a little bit of research and everything on the role. The problem was that none of that came through in the movie, none whatsoever. I don't know whether he wasn't given any direction by Zack Snyder, or I'm not sure what exactly happened, but the shitty thing is that I don't know why he didn't just say like, hey, this isn't kind of like the character from the comics or anything, and all that. I understand they're trying to do like something new and everything, but the problem is they're trying to reinvent something that doesn't need to be reinvented, especially when there's comics that have already reinvented it in a modern age, like for Origins, like Secret Origins and stuff like that, especially since that's like the now in continuity origin story, and it's a modern origin story and everything. So I was really disappointed when all that stuff came out, that the movie wasn't very good and everything, because I was really excited for Man of Steel post-release, really excited. That they did absolutely amazing work with the trailers and everything, and I kind of felt gypped a little bit when they released the movie and it wasn't really what the trailers intended to. And they did the same thing with Batman vs Superman as well, and I know it got a lot of people angry because it wasn't exactly like the trailers and everything. It was actually really boring and really jumbled and everything, and you can tell people are really upset by it because they had to release an ultimate cut, and the ultimate cut brings up more questions because you're asking like, why wasn't some of this left in the movie and other stuff extracted? Like they cut out whole things that fill in gaps and everything, but it doesn't make any sense why it was cut or anything. But yeah, I think if given the exact right scripts by a new writer, someone who isn't David Goyer or Chris Terrio, just a new fresh set of eyes with a new fresh director, I think Henry Cavill could do a really great Superman. I think he could. I think he has the acting ability, and he's got like that presence and everything, that he could do a really great Superman film. It's possible, especially with like rumors that Matthew Vaughn might be directing the next Superman sequel and everything, which would be really great because Matthew Vaughn is a fantastic director and he saved so many movies as well, like X-Men First Class and Kingsman and all those sorts of films. So he could do a really great Superman film, and I'm really looking forward to that. But I'd still be very hesitant as well, especially after what Warner Brothers has been doing with all these different characters and how they've been going about trying to make this cinematic universe where there's no real person leading the charge or anything, no direction. It just seems to be going with what goes good or what makes the most money. Like the Gotham City Sirens things, that's only being made because Harley Quinn was really popular, that sort of stuff. But yeah, definitely tell me your thoughts in the comments. I know a lot of people have already told me their thoughts in past videos that I've done about the DCEU, but definitely tell me what you think and whether you think like someone like Henry Cavill could become Superman. I definitely think he could, and I know there are people that think he could as well. Or tell me like who you would want as a director of Superman. I know I've asked that question before, but it's always great seeing new people suggest really interesting combinations of director and writer, or writer and actor or something. Thanks for watching my latest Superman in Media video. I hope you'll check out my other reviews of comics this week, or my other Superman in Media episodes, which include a look at Smallville and a look at the Christopher Reeves Superman films. You can also catch myself and Joel from Cape Joel in our weekly podcasts Caped TV and the Comic Multiverse over on his channel or on SoundCloud. Links to them are in the description below. Also, you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook. And if you're feeling a touch generous, I have a cyber tip jar set up. Just follow the links below, and until next time, I'm Matt of the Fortress of Solitude, and I will see you in another video.